Hi, thank you for watching Digging into China. I'm Dong Xiong. Just a year ago, South Korean President Moon Jae-in's left-leaning Democratic Party was riding high. It had just won a historical 3/5 majority in the country's legislature. Voters rewarded the administration's handling of the pandemic. But now, South Korea's conservatives are making a comeback. Se-hoon of the opposition People Power Party won 57.5% of the votes cast in Wednesday's election in Seoul, the capital city, according to the final vote tally released by the National Election Commission. Park Heong-joon of the ruling Democratic Party won 39.2% of the votes. In the mayoral election in Busan, the country's second-largest city, People Power Party candidate Park Heong-joon beat Democratic Party candidate Kim Young-choon by about 28 percentage points. The tally showed Mr. Moon, who took office in 2017 for a 5-year term, called the pair of defeats a reprimand from voters. We will approach our work with more humility and a deeper sense of responsibility, said Mr. Moon through a presidential spokesman. The losses in the cities that account for about a quarter of South Korea's population could slam the brakes on Moon's agenda to increase public employment and a push for larger fiscal spending. The setbacks could also serve as warning to his Democratic Party that it needs to revamp its policies if it wants to keep the presidency when Moon's single 5-year term ends in 2022. The results were a stunning reversal for Moon and his allies. They won a supermajority in parliamentary elections about a year ago, riding a wave of public support for their management of the coronavirus crisis. Moon's party has scored a series of victories in the wake of the 2016 impeachment of former President Park Geun-hye, a conservative leader later convicted of corruption. The final race outcomes provide a snapshot of national sentiment less than a year before South Korea's next presidential election in March. If the country's conservatives maintain their momentum, a right-leaning South Korean president would likely adopt vastly different foreign policy views at a delicate time in the region, with a more assertive China, an increasingly nuclear-armed North Korea, and the US shoring up its alliances. To Korea watchers, the mayoral races illustrate the challenge ahead for Mr. Moon as public support for his ruling party slides. Many South Korean voters vacillate between the two major parties and tend to make up their minds just weeks before presidential votes. For now, though, many voters are questioning their backing for Mr. Moon. It is largely due to their frustration over his handling of South Korea's third coronavirus wave that erupted last fall. South Korea's main conservative party captured a 29% public support rating, its highest mark since 2016, according to a Gallup Korea poll conducted late last month. This followed a series of recent scandals in which civil servants and politicians under Mr. Moon were alleged to have profited from real estate deals using insider information, as South Koreans contend with some of the world's fastest rising home prices. Meanwhile, Mr. Moon and his Democratic Party have been on a downhill slide. Mr. Moon's most recent approval rating was 32%, his lowest since he was elected president in 2017. His party's support rating also hit its lowest levels in 5 years. The mayoral elections became a referendum on the ruling party. South Korea's political right and the left had widely different foreign policy views. Under Mr. Moon, the government has given priority to inter-Korean cooperation, avoided zero-sum language about the US-China rivalry, and taken a pro-diplomacy approach that has had a net stabilizing effect in the region, said Jessica Lee, a Korea specialist at the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft, a Washington-based think tank. South Korea's conservatives in the past have taken a more confrontational stance with North Korea and expressed skepticism about China. Right-leaning presidents have also aligned more with Washington on security, showing more appetite for large-scale military exercise with the U.S. or green-lighting the installation of an American missile defense system that angered Beijing and Pyongyang. A right-leaning South Korean president adopting a traditional foreign policy playbook will likely increase tensions on the peninsula and make denuclearization less likely. South Korean conservatives have lately appeared more supportive toward Washington's growing concerns about Beijing than their liberal counterparts. Last month, the Conservative Party's chairman said South Korea should join forces with the US, Japan, Australia, and India, a grouping known as the Quad, to work together against an increasingly assertive China. Just as US Secretary of State Antony Blinken was visiting Seoul. South Korean public opinion is firmly behind the conservatives when it comes to China. Recent opinion polls show more than 80% of South Koreans view China as a national security threat, while 60% see it as an economic threat as well, according to a poll released last week by the Chicago Council on Global Affairs, a think tank. The winners of the Seoul and the Busan mayor elections will hold office for about a year, as they are finishing terms started by others. Seoul's ex-mayor was found dead last July in an apparent suicide after his ex-secretary went to the police to file a complaint accusing him of sexual misconduct. Busan's former mayor resigned months earlier due to a sexual harassment scandal. South Korea's conservatives lost 3 major elections in 3 years and renamed their party 3 times during that period. Last year, they renamed it the People Power Party. The victories in the mayoral race in the country's 2 biggest cities will give them momentum, local political experts say. Choi Young-jin is a professor of Korean politics at Chong'an University in Seoul. He said, quote, "It does not mark a revival for the conservatives, but there is still too much uncertainty to say they will have the clear upper hand in next year's presidential election." Unquote. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. Just click the subscribe button right here. I'll see you again shortly.